4 children were brutally murdered and nobody really knows what happened. Hi everyone! We're gonna do a video on the Tan family, and we want to start a channel all about like mystery videos and stuff because we're all really interested in that. And so yeah. Ow. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the Tan family. So the Tan family were a family of 6 who lived in a small one-room apartment in Singapore, in Block 53, Kallang Street in Geylang Bahru. This case is unsolved, and where all 4 children were brutally murdered and nobody really knows what happened. Tan Quyen Shea and his wife Lee Mei Ling had 4 children, and their names were Kok Peng, who was age 10, Kok Hin, who was age 8, Kok Sun, who was age 6, who were all boys, and their only daughter, Chen Ni, who was age 5. So all 3 boys attended Bendemeer Primary School, while their sister attended a nearby kindergarten. So their parents worked as drivers in this minivan, and they would drop off children to school, and so this was like their only job. This was their main source of income. So they weren't really rich, but they tried to provide their children with the best lives they possibly could, and they were very close, loving, tight-knit family. And yeah.
So on the 6th of January 1979, it was a normal day for the family. Parents Tan Quyen Shea and wife Lee Mei Ling left to work at 6:30. On 7:30, Mom called the children to wake them up for school, but there was no response. So Mom tried calling the neighbor to wake their children up by knocking on the door. The neighbor knocked on their door, but there was still no response.
So the parents came home from work at around 10 a.m. and that is when they discovered the horrific sight of their children lying dead in the bathtub stacked on top of each other. So each child was fully clothed and hacked and slashed to death with at least 20 slash wounds each child. Kok Peng, who was the eldest child, seemed to have tried to fight the murderer because his hand was still clenched with long strands of hair inside of his hand.
So the apartment was completely spotless. There weren't any trace of blood except for the kitchen sink. There weren't any signs of forced entry. Nothing was out of place and nothing was unturned. So because the police ruled out the possibility of a robbery gone wrong, therefore the police believed that it was a premeditated murder done by someone close to his family because the scene was very immaculate. The murder weapons, which were believed to have been choppers and daggers, were never returned but was taken from the Tan family's house, which was quite weird to plan a murder but then not bring your own murder weapons, but whatever.
Also, the fact that these murders took place when the parents weren't home is just more evidence how this person planned the whole thing out, because it was such a small time frame that they were dealing with. It was only between 6:30 when the parents left for work and 7:10 when the parents called their children to try and wake them up. And so this person obviously knew the typical routine of this family to have done this. So it also seemed that the children knew this person well enough to let the person into their house because there was no sign of forced entry. So the Criminal Investigations Department, or the CDI, took over this case and began investigation on it. And so the Tan family made it clear to the public that they didn't know anybody who would do this to them. They had no enemies, and they couldn't think of anyone that they have possibly upset or anything like that.
So 2 weeks after the murder, the parents received a Chinese New Year card written in Mandarin, and it was signed off by the murderer. So this letter proved to them that it was definitely from someone they knew well, because the person who wrote to it called the parents by their nicknames, and also it said, quote, "Now you can't have it any more offsprings, which was true because Lee May actually had undergone a sterilization surgery after their last daughter and could not have children anymore. The letter unfortunately didn't open up any new leads, but it did further prove that it was definitely from someone they knew really well. So the most frustrating part about this case is that on normal days there is this woman who would sit on her corridor and watch the children's play, but then on this specific day she was at home washing her hair. So in any normal day she would have seen who went inside the apartment and stuff, but then she was washing her hair, so
There was one lead, though, from a taxi driver who told the CID that he had picked up a man approximately in his 20s who looked really sketchy, and the whole side of his left face was covered in blood. And the driver also knew that he was carrying a knife because when the man went out of the taxi, the knife banged against the door. So the driver picked up this man around 8 a.m. on block 96, which was right next to the Tan family's apartment. So when the CID told the family this information, they immediately seemed to know who it was, and they referred to this guy as Uncle. So they knew it was him because he was their next door neighbor who would actually go to their apartment and ask to use the phone on the daily basis. So they put this guy in a lineup, and the taxi driver picked him out of the lineup like almost immediately. And so they put this guy in jail, but they unfortunately had to release him because of insufficient evidence.
So that is all the information on this case. Let's get into the theories. So the first theory was actually mentioned by Lee May's brother, and it was that the parents were involved in an illegal tontine scheme. So a tontine scheme was basically a place where a lot of people dump money into this pool and get shares from it over a period of time. But whoever dies in the group last will basically get all of the money. But this was debunked because there was not many evidence to prove it, and it was just a theory that a brother had made up and it became famous. This theory also doesn't line up with the fact that the children were killed instead of the mom or dad because they were in the tontine scheme and not the children's.
The second theory is that the mother, Lee May, was having an affair with this uncle guy. So the theory goes is that the mother was having an affair, and she decided to end things because she didn't want to risk her marriage and her family for this affair, and so she ended things with him. But the uncle guy got like angry and decided to lash out and take revenge and kill their children. So this theory actually lines up with the fact that in the letter, in the Chinese New Year letter, it mentioned the sterilization surgery that she had done, and this is something that a person who you're having an affair with, like, this is something that you would tell them. And also, he was their neighbor, so he would know about their routine, and he would have seen the woman who was usually in the corridors that she wasn't there, and so he took this opportunity to go to the apartment. And also, there were no signs of forced entry, and the parents mentioned that the uncle usually came in and asked the children to borrow their phones, so the children would have let this uncle guy in because they've seen him before. And yeah, this theory would also explain how the weapons were taken from the Tan family's apartment, because as soon as he saw that the woman wasn't there in the corridors, he would have taken this opportunity and not thought about taking the weapons from his place. However, it was said that the parents were very much in love, and Lee May wouldn't want to risk an affair for her marriage. And I just feel like she wouldn't have done something like that because they were such a loving and close family. So yeah.
On January 7th, all of the 4 children were buried side by side with their favorite toys. Emma lied next to them, but not all of the toys because they wanted to keep some of them as their memory. It was so devastating for the parents, and Lee May actually had trouble staying cautious because she was so upset at the funeral. Both parents stopped working, dropping children off to school because it would have been a constant reminder that their children weren't there anymore, and it was too sad and devastating. Both parents stopped working as bus drivers and dropping off children to school because it was too heartbreaking, and it would have been a constant reminder that their children weren't there anymore, but they still lived in the same apartment. After they quit their job, they worked at a plastic machine company. While this case is very heartbreaking, it does have a little happy ending. Lee May was looking into this reverse sterilization, which is pretty far-fetched, but by some miracle it worked, and on December 30th, 1983, they managed to conceive a beautiful baby boy. Hey.
That is the end of the video. In my opinion, I think it was the uncle guy because literally all the evidence points to him. And do you guys think?
Yeah, me too. I think it's the uncle.
Me too.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. It's really annoying how they let him go just because of
Yeah,
lack of
insufficient
yeah.
evidence. That was so.
We think
Sorry,
that
yeah.
this case deserves much more attention than it currently has,
Yeah, definitely.
which is why we
Yeah. Yeah, make sure to support our channel because we're gonna do more of these sort of videos.
they're really
yeah.
depressing videos. But if you like depressing videos,
Yeah, then hit subscribe, like, comment. Make sure to share this video because this case deserves more recognition,
yeah.
and attention. So, yeah. Bye.
Bye.
and our next video will be
Nicholas Barkley!